is Zoom.
Got 20 people waiting.
Okay. Let's see if it's coming up.
You know what? My camera's on.
Okay. Put your camera on then.
Thank you. Oh, good. You guys can see me. You guys can hear me. All right, then. So let's see. I'm actually going to wait. Then I'm going to edit this later. So I'm waiting for a few more folks to check in. I think we have folks still waiting. And I apologize for those. I apologize because I had technical difficulties and we kind of didn't realize till late. So sorry. What I'm also planning on doing is I'm gonna later on tonight, like maybe I'm thinking like midnight, maybe 12:30 p.m. on the Pacific time. I'm gonna do another live demo. I'm actually doing it for friends back on the other side of the world. That's for everyone. It's gonna be recorded. It's gonna be up. So good. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting ready here on my end. Okay. Let's see. Okay, good. More people are coming in. That's good. Okay, you guys can see me and hear me. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, this demo is just pretty much a live demo, and I'm just going to share pretty much how I work, how I draw, and so forth. There really isn't so much a structure or kind of a plan, so to speak. I'm just going to go ahead and talk and draw and just kind of you know, just draw. And what I may do is I'll look at the chat feed, maybe open up for more Q&A, stuff like that. But I'm just going to try and relax and just have fun. So I may put in the music. So if you hear background music while I draw, it's just something for me to just kind of focus on stuff. So with that, I'm going to share screen. And there, love a body like that. And I'm just getting stuff ready here on my end. All right. And okay, make sure my settings are okay. Good. Let's see, let me check one more setting here because my sound seems to be off.
Got somebody could take.
There you go. All right. Put that lower just in case. All right. So I'm just going to let loose and just draw. So basically, what I do anytime I do like storyboarding or just background design, stuff like that. Before I actually just do the work, I just kind of just play around with the pencil, and I just kind of just have fun. So I'll just, basically just start warm up, doing basic characters and so forth. So I'm just gonna just relax and draw, and I have no idea. There's a bird there waiting for the prize. Who knows? Maybe in the back of the ocean, in the back here on the edge of the pier. In the back, there's people there. Oh. That meant nothing. So, let's see. Let's have fun. And then I'll just play with shapes. I have this cat character that I'm playing with. So, what I like to do is, I like to play with different forms on what that cat could be. And it's about the power. He's a cool cat. I was in a sea. But for my cat, I've been having this cat character, so I'm just going to draw really quickly. So I usually just start with the eye line, center line, and give it some ears. And kind of create the shape. Side, whiskers. Maybe I make the eyes bigger. Create a little atmosphere. Lighter so it pops out. What exactly we focused on? Maybe tree. Let's change them a bit. If he's looking up there, we're just going to say, okay, let's duplicate him. I'm just going to change his highlight so he's looking up more, perhaps, yeah. I did this thing where he was studying a spider earlier. Maybe he's doing that. I play with the lighting and so forth. Maybe I could just do this. Wait for that to catch up. I don't know, I'm just playing around, I'm just riffing. You know, sometimes this is how I work. I just have no plan. I just kind of like, I start with something, I just kind of see where it goes. So I'm not really kind of locked into a certain plan just yet. I'm just kind of playing in the sandbox and just kind of having fun. And I use a flat brush, you know, something that doesn't lock me into something like being so tight. This is like a big Sharpie. I'm just having fun. So yeah. So I'm just going back to the live stream. Oh wow, okay, there's a lot more people coming in. That's great. We got like 60 folks. Cool. Do I have a favorite brush? Not really. There are, well, actually, you know what? I do have brushes. I guess they are my favorite that I use. I basically do either the standard flat brush, and then when I do that, I kind of like to do this. I kind of, actually, let me just group all this and get rid of it so you can get a clean canvas. So I get a flat brush. I usually squash it down, and then I like to play with the transfer, put the pen pressure. I usually do this. So sometimes I like to draw with that because it feels like I'm drawing with a like a very dull Copic marker. So I do that. I also bought Shayun's brushes. Shayun's brushes are awesome. It's these guys right here. Let's see. Where are they? They're really cool. I'm not sure how much they were. I bought these like about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. At the time, they were $10, but I'm not sure how much they are now. They're probably close to $10, I imagine. But if you can, it's a really great investment. I have no idea where that came from. Looks like Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. So let's see. Let me go back to the questions. So, okay. So anybody have any questions while I'm here? Because I could just answer a question while I draw. So I know there's a delay here. So I'm like, there's like a 20-minute delay. So I'll just ask now and I'll wait and I'll see what you guys do. By the way, I hope you guys are enjoying Lightbox and having a good time. There's a lot of great presentations and speakers and talks and stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks. COVID sucks. And yeah, ideally it would be nice to see everybody in person, but this is the next best thing. And I'm glad Bobby and Jim and Jamie and the whole team there did this. So this is just a new way of getting together and, you know, still stay engaged and still kind of inspire one another. So yeah, just waiting for any questions or if you guys didn't have anything. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to share pretty much how I work as far as storyboard. So what I usually do is I do this. I'm going to create like a storyboard template. And what I usually do is I work in Photoshop for most of the time when I do storyboards. And so I'll get my paper here. Actually, I'm going to shrink this because this is just way too big. Too much real estate. That's much better. And then I'll just do that. Okay. Okay, so you guys can see the layers. You guys see the pad. What I usually do is I get my marquee tool and I set my style. It's set for normal, but I'm going to do fixed ratio. And I can either set it for 185 width, 1 unit high, or I could do 235. I'm going to do both. This is 185. So I'll go from one edge of the paper to the other, and then I select inverse, and then I do edit, fill, black. And what it does now, it creates a film ratio of 185. And I have a little black border, a black trim, a black mat where I can do dialogue on the bottom or so forth. So maybe on the layer, I'm going to call this mat, and I'll say 185. Okay. If I wanted to work on a 235, I would open up a new layer. I'd open up the marquee, and I would change these to 2.35 width to 1 unit high, and it's going to be a lot narrower. It's going to be like that. And then I would do select inverse, edit, fill, black, and now I have a wider format film ratio to work with. So I'm gonna name this Mat 2.35. So there we go. Now, I have both. So I'm just gonna work under the 235 for now. Do this, and I'm gonna have all of these in a folder. Say they don't. There, have that off. All right, so now what I'll probably do is I'll just kind of start boarding. When I board, I usually just get like a really thin wispy pencil. I like Cheyenne, so I kind of use his. And I kind of do is I just throw everything on one layer, and I just kind of just go for it as far as laying out what the composition is and so forth. So say, for example, I have, let's see, what would be good? Okay, so say I have a down shot, and I'm gonna use grids to suggest a down shot. Okay, and so say in the foreground, I'm way up high, I have clouds. And then right here, I have buildings and so forth. So I'm gonna just generate a really quick grid of buildings, simple blocks. You know, maybe it's a little cloudy and so forth. Maybe it's after a storm, but I'm just gonna really suggest really quickly and loose, it's a city, a lot of buildings, so forth. I can always go back and refresh what that could be. Okay. Okay, from here, kind of simple city. Okay, so as one, and I did the simple mistake of now, the name of this thing is called Watch Me Mess Up. I just messed up. So if you see my layer group, I just drew on my layer format. So I'm like, I should have separated them. My mat should have been separate on a separate layer from my drawing. And so what I'll do is that's okay. I'll just do this. I'm going to turn that off. New layer. Go back and do another new mat. Select inverse, edit, see, new layer, got it. Edit, fill, do black. Okay, there's my mat again. I'll do mat 2.35. And then I'm gonna go back to my drawing and I'm gonna select just the drawing itself. Select inverse, X. Okay, good. Now I got it. So I'm just gonna call this 0, 0. So I have 0, 0, so there's my screen there, and just say I'm gonna do a, let's see, I'm just gonna just riff off and I'll just do there's buildings, it's a city scene. Let's see, I'm gonna have, maybe my character's walking this way. Maybe there's merge these guys together. All right, so I have first image, down view of the city. Now I'm coming, now I'm at eye level with this group. I'm actually getting more closer to the world. And if you notice, most stories, they start like this. You know, they give you like a wide shot, and then they get closer to maybe a building until they get into like a house, until they get to a character. So it's a great way to kind of establish the world. You know, we have all this information, and then we're gonna go in closer to our character and start our story. So that's kind of what most studios do, most stories do. So I have a close-up. So an up shot, he's happy. Let's see, maybe he's looking at something. Maybe over the shoulder. What's he looking at? Maybe his phone. And then it's say opening. Let's see. Let's say comic store sale. Okay, so he's looking down. And then I'm gonna have something in the foreground. Filter, blur, motion blur. So I'm going to select him, and then everything else I'm going to do select inverse, make it lighter. So right away I kind of have a down shot, establish him at eye level on the street. He's looking at something. He's like, oh, there's a sale, cool, on his iPhone. And all of a sudden, something happens in the foreground, which catches his attention. Okay, so right away, I kind of built a little suspense and so forth. So what we'll do is kind of good. Maybe saying like, don't say anything, kid, get out of here. So, like, all right. And then maybe we can have so now I just added more interest. Maybe there's some folks out on the street, and now we have cops. This guy just turned around like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Now the cops are on him. Now maybe, and like, all right, guys. Put the gun down. We got you covered. And then just to really play up this depth of field, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Not too much. And then what we can do is this. We can kind of, I have no idea where this story is going. I'm just going for it. So right away, maybe we have, and then from here, I can have, guys are like, oh, the hat fell off. Chunks. Maybe. There's a wheel. And then I might do filter, blur. Let's see, is it radial blur? Yeah, radial blur. And then I'm gonna do a zoom out. And then let's do 24. Okay, see what that looks like. And just make it lighter. Could be more. Let's do this. Let's do it again. Filter, blur, radial blur. Let's do zoom. Let's do 66. See how warped that looking? Yeah, all right. So put that. All right, so we'll put all of these under one layer. So basically, this is what we have so far. We have, okay, down view of the city. It's at night. It's maybe cloudy. We have one of our heroes. We don't know who he is. He's just walking toward camera. Reveal it's a young kid. He's happy. Why is he happy? He's looking down. He's going to a comic book store. Maybe there's a grand opening at night. So there he is, and he's up ahead. Somebody catches his eye. It's a guy who's just kind of in action. He's in the middle of a walk or running. And then you reveal it's this guy. He says, hey, kid, give me your money. And all of a sudden, from behind the robber, we see the cops. Maybe they've been chasing him earlier. And they say, put it down. We got you covered. And then, and something unexpectedly happens. So from here, I don't know where we're going to go. Where should we go? I don't know. Let's see. Maybe. Maybe our hero is down. You have smoke in the back, glass, debris. He's just coming up. He's like, oh, you know, what's going on? And all of a sudden, maybe we do a down shot. You know, this is the building and so forth. Let's see, doing a quick perspective of the ground, the streets. Maybe here there's devastation. And crack is where things are. Coming out, smoke, everything. Maybe our heroes are over here. You know, there's a lot of people, debris, and so forth. And then from here, we could just do, maybe we'll do this. Maybe we will lighten that up. Maybe we'll darken the fire just to bring that attention more. Okay. And then all of a sudden, we have this guy. We have maybe a character. We reveal a new character, new information. Maybe this guy is hovering, right? Maybe we have a character hovering up above. Maybe we make him bigger so he's kind of right there looking down. We do that. So let's do an up view. How about we do grid of the sky. It's on his hovercraft. And I don't know, let's give him a name. Let's call him, I don't know, what would be a good name for this guy? Let's see, let's go Spider-Verse, and let's go maybe give him some issue names. Let's do, I don't know, he's saying, ha ha ha, beware, I am so-and-so, about to wreak havoc. So I don't know, let's say we do this. So now we can have things feel street level. Maybe people are starting to come up. They're looking at him like, oh my gosh, it's him. You know, they're all dazed and coming out and so forth. Maybe someone's like looking up, oh my gosh. You know, this is devastation. Maybe we have broken canopy. You know, things are devastated, cracks. You know, we have a light pole that's bending down and so forth. Broken glass, shrapnel, and so forth. Even the bank robber that we saw earlier, he's like, oh my gosh, you know, who the hell is that guy? I thought I was the bad one. You know, he's looking up like that. Maybe we have the cops in the foreground, they're looking up like that. And so anyway, I could just add like a shadow as though he's coming. Presenting himself. And then way in the back we have the crater, right? Still burning, still on fire. You know. I don't know where I'm going, I'm just going. Things like that. And I can always change it. You know, maybe from here we can have, you know, here's the crowd. Maybe some people are still dazed from the ground. They're like that. Some are on the ground, things like that. And then he presents himself, you know. So now he's like saying his famous speech, like, I am so and so, I can wreak havoc, and you guys are, you guys are beneath me, and you have to summon to my power and so forth. So I could do that. You can have just one of these evil close-ups. I don't want to get cross-eyed. It's cross-eyed. So what we'll do is this. Maybe we'll, yeah, maybe not so centered. And then after, out of nowhere, splat, something comes out and hits him. Maybe have some somewhere in the foreground they're still looking on, so we don't know what's going on. And then you see, it's our webbed hero, right? He's kind of like, attach himself to a wall. We reveal who he is. Now, maybe there's a better way to say that. Maybe shoot, foreground foreshortening. So we still want us to do an upshot. Maybe we turn it a little bit to really get a dynamic. Let's squash a little bit like that. And so forth. And let me just read your comments in case you have any questions. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of like riffing off here. Let's see. This demonstration is fantastic. Thank you, Angie. I'm so impressed by how fast you are. Your experience talks with, oh, thank you, Vale. Sean Lopez, Loki. Yeah, it could be Loki. Yeah, I should use Loki. Let's call him El Dia Volado. Very cool. Let him call so-and-so. Yeah. Do you have any personal projects? Cool. So, yeah. So, these are all great. Let's see if I have any questions. What photo actions have you preset? Yeah, as far as Photoshop actions preset, I really don't have any presets except for laying out the template, the photo the ratio that I have and so forth. So I was going to show you this. Maybe while I was going to show you something I do as far as compositions. Let's see, Livebox, talks, presentations, presenting. And watching my set. Do I have story? Let's see, this is opening up. It's a different file. I was working up the other day, kind of like an exercise to myself as far as composition, and I'll share it with you. So I'm just waiting for it to load up. It's kind of heavy because I had a lot of layers on it, but. Okay, it's going to open up right now. So I apologize. And it's opening up slowly. Sorry about that. I should have this open, but I was like, the last minute, I'm like, oh, this would be nice to share. So I'm not sure. Here I was just kind of, the other day I was thinking about panels and so forth, what I could do, see where they're at. So I'm just kind of opening up, trying to find where they are. I was trying to do a Spider-Verse, and as you're talking, down for you. And there was a race I was kind of dealing with. Okay, I think this is it. So I'm going to code that blue so I know where it's at, or orange. Yeah, these are the other ones. So this is not it. This, where does it end? Where does it begin? That, that. Okay, it's a pretty big file. This and this, I will group, and I will put it blue. Blue is what I don't want to use. So, okay, there it is. So maybe this, throw it in the blue, boom, throw that on the blue. Okay, so I'm doing that. Okay, good, this is it. All right, so I put the blue way on the bottom here. Don't use. What's down here? Okay, and then I have this. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me while I was trying to fix this. So the other day I was thinking like, okay, how many compositions can we make? And earlier in my talks, I talked about there was a composition of the box on a table and then moving the camera around to get many options and possibilities and also consideration of mood and emotion. So I was thinking like, okay, let's just kind of create like a little scenario. Maybe there's a young boy, a little kid, maybe he's 8 or 10, and say it's the early evening, things are getting dark and starting to rain. So maybe he's waiting there for the bus. So, there's not a lot of people out because people are out and about, getting out for the rain. So it's starting to rain on him, and it's pretty much he's alone. So I was thinking like, how many ways can we compose this? So this was the first shot I did. So I kind of really quickly drafted out this background. So what I did was, there's the background by itself, and then I just kind of painted the kid there. So I was thinking like, how many ways can we move the camera around? So from there, I kind of did maybe a down shot. So maybe this is this wall, these buildings. If you kind of shoot up, you're pretty much a tenant. You're a resident who lives on the top floor, and maybe you're looking down out the window, and maybe you see this. So that way, you see the bottom of the sidewalk. You see the kid waiting there at the bus stop. Maybe the bus stop is one of those transparent bus stops so you can see through. So maybe it's that. Maybe the camera is low, so you see him. Like maybe the camera is just above the gutter. So you have this low angle, and you see him. He's just looking, waiting. Maybe the camera is behind him, and we're just waiting for the bus. You see in the distance the way in the bus. I put the bus in Gaussian blur to suggest it's way out there. So there he is. Maybe there's a restaurant across the street from the bus stop, and then this could be like from that vantage point. Like say there's a table next to the window, and if you had a camera, that this would be what you'd see. So he's kind of like framed. He's vignetted from the foreground framing of that. Here it is, somewhat similar to what I used before, but I really slanted so that way the vanishing point is really close to the right side, so you see more of the facade of the buildings. Maybe we do a close-up. So let's get more information. We've done all this information all around him, but maybe let's get more information on the kid. Maybe we do it over the shoulder and he's looking at the bus schedule. So now he's like, he's been waiting. He's out in the rain. He's probably figuring out like, well, where's that bus? I have the bus schedule. Oh, there he is. Just a reverse angle. It's like, huh. And maybe this is the point of view. Maybe the bus is now coming. So this is inside the bus and he's about to come. And through the windshield there, we have the bus stop with the kid there waiting. Maybe the kid's just standing up now and he's now waiting for the bus to come. And if you notice, these are all really dirty. They're not tight. They're not clean. What I'm doing is I'm roughly throwing out the forms and the shapes and the simple composition. And then I'm using lighting to really kind of help clarify things so things pop out, maybe so they pop out in silhouette, so to speak, or that, you want to see that first before anything else. Maybe there's a close-up of the kid. He's looking on. Maybe there's a moment where the door's opening and you have a close-up of him looking into the bus. Maybe there's a moment where early on he's waiting, but then you kind of frame him so that he's really far on the left. So you have a lot of negative space on the right. And you're kind of, with all that negative space, you're kind of implying or suggesting that we're going to see something in there. So there I just put a figure. Maybe there's someone in shadow or in silhouette. He's there. We don't know who it is. We're just kind of building mystery. Is this kid in danger? Is this a kind person? We don't know. I was thinking here for this shot, I was thinking this would be from a post for a beam. You know, here it is, and you know, on the opposite side is information on the bus schedules and the route. You know, this would be the block, like that, and then this would be, you know, chair. So if I wanted to really clarify that more, I would say like, well, let's do this. Maybe we put the sign, right? That's dark, so it pops out from the background. So we just put that in the back. There. And if you even want to give it more, yeah, we can even do this. We can even put the foreground in Gaussian blur. So I'm going to separate this foreground element because it's joined with this with the background. So I'm going to inverse X. It's a select, and it really select inverse X. So that's the foreground. That's that. Okay, good. So I'm going to put these together. I'm going to group them. I'm going to duplicate them. So I still have my original, and I'm going to merge that. And then I'm going to do filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Okay, good. So now it's in the foreground, just to suggest a depth of field. Simple. Okay, so anyway, these are just the possibilities of what you can do as far as the moving the camera around. I forget what I have in these guys. I'm trying to think what I have. So I'm just going to open them up. Okay. Maybe maybe it's the same character from a different story. He's looking at something. He's happy about it. I have a blob monster. That's an over the shoulder of this. He's looking. Maybe he just kind of like, oh, and then he's kind of, oh my gosh, someone's behind him. There's the blob monster, maybe standing above, you know, kind of a hero shot, looking down. Establishing shot. Here comes a car coming down the street. Okay, so we see the driver. You know, the car is driving head on. Now we're inside the car looking at him. Okay, we have a guy, he's just in the middle of a head turn. For some reason, we're in a hero or a villain. He's doing that. Again, a lot of these are just stream of consciousness because I'm kind of working on something else on the side. So a lot of these I kind of use as just kind of like a scratch pad where I'll just kind of throw stuff down. This is my early drawings when I was drawing the cat and the spider. And then he's really, you know, our cat character is really benevolent, so he gets the spider. He's like, oh, I'm not going to kill you, guy. I'm going to take you outside. And there you go. And there he takes off. And then he's going to shoot the spider. Oh my gosh. So maybe we don't do that. So here he is. Here's our good cat practicing good social distancing with the mask. Very nice. You know that he's going to surgery. Maybe an Indiana Jones type situation. There's another scary villain dude. I don't know what that is. Okay, looks like a party. We're kind of highlighting this character because he's kind of on the thirds. He stands out, you know, light against dark. These guys are milling about. So we have a nice negative space. Maybe that's where, suggesting where that goes. Let's see. Where is that? Let me turn this off. Okay. So where is that? Okay. So maybe that character is looking at this young lady and she's like, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How are you doing? Oh. So maybe they start to mingle, talk, and over the shoulder shots. And maybe this is just, yeah, I was trying to figure out, like, he was kind of shy. He's kind of like, oh, I'm, you know, so-and-so. I'm just, you know, I'm working. I don't have enough money right now, but I'm doing my best, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they end up inside. Maybe they're just sitting on the couch, get to know each other. Maybe they're in the kitchen. Oh, they start to make out. All right. And so he says, bye, I gotta go, my ride's here. So he's about to go outside. And he sees his friends outside on the truck. And he's looking back because he realizes that the kitchen window was open. It's like, oh my gosh, did they see us make out? And then his friend's like, ha ha ha, yes we did. Doing a smoochy smooch. And all his friends are just smiling. And then maybe he receives a letter. And the letter is, hey, thanks for a great night. Talk to you soon. So anyway, that was something I wanted to show you. Well, I have you here. I'm going to just, I know what to show you guys. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to showcase more things as far as storytelling. I'm going to open up another presentation. And I'm going to open up, if you bear with me, let's see, China Vice. I Love Lucy. Let's see, where's my I Love Lucy? Sorry guys, as you can see, I was kind of using this as kind of an open forum to whatever can happen. But let's see, let's do that again. I'm just gonna put in Lucy, A-U-C-L-Y. I'm looking for a presentation, it's called I Love Lucy. It has to do with camera. Okay, so if you bear with me, I'm going to share this with you guys. Okay, so with that, actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop camera. I'm gonna go and look at YouTube and look at the chat for just a few seconds to see if you guys have any questions before I start this. So bear with me. So I'm gonna go into look at this. I'm just thinking, okay. Any tips for keeping your file sizes down? I say for storyboards, keep them at 150 DPI. That's always good, because for storyboards, you don't need a lot of, you don't need to have them so large. Larger works when you're having a lot of layers and things have to be more crisper, more information. But for, for things, for storyboards, it's just a lot about line and values. So they don't have to be so big. So 150, and try going to like 72, because maybe 72 works. The only risk is if you go to 72, you're going to get that low res fuzziness. So it's a kind of experimentation, see what works for you. How do you organize your layers? The best I could. Right now, when I start layers, I just freeform and I just kind of throw it down. And then later on, as I commit to what I want to see, then I'll group things together and then I separate things out. Like, okay, the background will be on a separate layer. Certain elements might be on a separate layer. The character will be on a separate layer. And then when I do tonal values, that will be on a separate layer. So I'm not so much worried about the layering so much. Right now, I'm just throwing stuff down on one layer. I'm just like, throwing it down as fast as I can and see what works. And then if it all works, then I start using the time to divvy up things and organize. So what kind of scenes do you like to board? Motion ones, comic, I like them all because they all have different challenges and so forth. So yeah, I like them all. I don't really have one. Met you at Mexico last year. You're an amazing artist. Thank you, Emilio. Thank you. When you pitch your boards, can you just use your roughs? Yeah, definitely. You want to use your roughs at first because you always know things are going to change, and you always you want to have their input. So it makes no sense to clean things up unless you really have to clarify something. But if your roughs are readable, that's all you need, because this is a work in form. It's a work in progress type of medium. It's your storyboards. And they're not necessarily have to be super tight because it's not meant for the public to see. It's an internal device to show your director and the crew what the story is. And then once everything feels good, that storyboard is a template to give to the movie makers, the modelers and the texture artists and the riggers and so forth, so they can build the film. If it's a 2D film, so they can draw and design. But everything is internal. It wasn't really meant to be for public. So I think what happened was, maybe some executives, they didn't know how to read a storyboard. So maybe everything had to be given to them. So I think there was pressure perhaps that storyboards had to be in color and everything had to be super tight, which I think is, it just kind of defeats the purpose of what storyboard was. Storyboards should be nice and rough. You're expressing the ideas, and ideally everyone should be able to read a rough storyboard. But I think you necessarily shouldn't be, things that are super tight, they lose an energy. There's something great about a quick drawing. There's energy, it's alive, it's fluid, it's moving. But as soon as you kind of go really super tight, you sterilize the drawing and it becomes frozen, and you're missing like a spark, you're missing that energy. So I say keep things rough, keep the construction of your shapes, as long as they're clear. When I say by clarity, it's like, do we know what the character is feeling and expressing? Do we know the actions and so forth? Is it expression? Is it clear? It can still be rough, but if it's clear, job well done. You've done your job, move on. because these things, you're looking at storyboard and panels just almost at a second at a time. So it has to be clear. If you have a lot of information on the page, it's like we have to digest it. And, you know, a lot of that may not be important. A storyboard is just there to inform. So if you saw my stuff, backgrounds were just, you know, shapes and grids and so forth. And I was just concerned with performance and emotion and just trying to tell you what's happening, emotion, and move on. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about when I'm doing a storyboard. So, so with that, I'm going to share screen and I'll show you something about the I Love Lucy camera. Okay, so I'm going to share the I Love Lucy camera, the I Love Lucy presentation I did. So I did this for a group for storyboard artists, and it was more a talk on just using the simplicity of a camera where you don't have to get too crazy. You can just keep the camera at eye level and just alternate right or left and center, and then you can either truck in and truck out, just so you can have just a small variety of options, but still tell a story in the most simplest way. So I call it the I Love Lucy camera because it's it was pretty much started out when Desi Arnaz, when he was doing the I Love Lucy show, a show in I think it started in 1954. He used just a simple camera setup just to showcase his show. If you guys are too young to remember this, I'm going to play this just because you get a feeling what it is. I remember seeing this as a kid, and it was funny. It was great. So here it goes.
That was pretty good. We did that in a few seconds.
Well, now let's do it again so we'll have everything perfect.
Okay, now the main thing is to be calm so we don't get Lucy excited. That's right. We gotta keep calm. Good.
Just right, put that
All
over
right.
there so we can start right.
Get it over there and get it all what it was at the beginning now, right?
Go back over there.
Right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Now Lucy comes out of the room and she says, "The time has come." Go.
Hello, Dr. Harris. We're leaving for the hospital with Mrs. Ricardo now. Goodbye.
Hey, that was even better than before.
Well,
Yeah, that was
well,
fun.
well organized.
Okay, now we know what to do. Now let's put this stuff right where it was so we know what everything is.
Now all we have to do is just wait.
That was fine, kids. That's wonderful. Just think. Tomorrow night at this time, I'm going to be a father. Yes, sir. I'm going to be a godfather.
And I'm going to be a godmother.
Uh-huh.
Ricky, this is it.
This is it.
So anyway, that was a great example of just kind of what I Love Lucy is about. It was a very popular show, really funny. But wanted to share with you, if you looked at it, the camera was just kind of limited to things that were eye level and things just pretty much, you just had a 3-camera setup. So if you were to look at it from a 3/4 down view, you'd have 3 cameras on one side of the set. You had number 2 camera, which is in the center. And then you had cameras 1 and 3 on either side of center. One was focusing on the right side of the set, the other is on the left. So you just basically had this, you know, the camera can tilt, truck in and truck out. But as far as positioning, you wouldn't have a down shot or an up shot. Everything would just be eye level. But you can intercut between the two and then just have a variety of shots. This would be the down view floor plan of the camera setups. So basically from here, you can kind of use this setup to tell a story. So basically what that means is you can use a wide shot, and you can have maybe your characters, they're somewhere in the mid plane, and you're just establishing where they're at. So in this case, I have two young ladies, they're on the opposing side of the street, and they're having a conversation. Maybe I have a character in the foreground walking by just to create some depth. So I have this wide shot, and maybe from here, I cut close on the characters. So basically, this shot here is just a tighter cut on this. So I'm just reusing this shot. So I'm going from here, and now I do some over the shoulders. So I do an over the shoulder of one of the ladies, and then a reverse over the shoulder of the other. And then this is actually a cut in of this. This is actually a cut in of that. So right away, just minimizing our master shots, we can cut into those master shots to create more tighter shots. So from here, we're kind of almost moving the camera to a new position, a new placement, but we're just kind of reusing what we did before, but just tighter. And then from here, we can just tell our story. So I'm going to backtrack to the beginning. So I don't know, let's say, hi, Amy. Hey, Joanne, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Hey, how was the party the other night? Oh, it was great. Wonderful. Yeah, we had so much fun. Hey, and guess what? I finally talked to Joey. You did? Yeah, he's pretty cool. Really? Yeah, he's fine. But you know what? He told me something. What did he say? Well, he said that he cheated on a test the other day. He cheated? Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't sure to tell somebody about it. Oh, well, I'm glad you did. Well, you know what? Maybe I should. Oh my gosh, maybe you should. I like him so much. I don't know what to do. But what do you think we should do? I don't know. Oh my gosh, shh, here he comes. So anyway, this is just a reuse. That was really bad dialogue. I didn't know what to say. I was off the cuff. But basically, I'm just demonstrating reusing of the shots. And this, you can do a cut in. We talked about point of view earlier on. This is, you're the actual, looking from the other character's point of view, looking at the other character. And this is the same thing, but much tighter shot. And this shot is actually this shot, but I made it wider so you can kind of see a new person coming in. So basically, economic compositions, when you're storyboarding, you can get a lot out of it, and you see it in a lot of shows. It's just reuse. There's no need to add like maybe a dozen camera moves on a scene if you don't need it. It's just basically you're focusing on the story. And you should only use a camera move or a new position only if you're providing new information or if there's a reason to. So from that, I'll give you a simple exercise to do. Say you want to do, as this is a simple storyboard exercise if you guys want to do it. Say you have two men and they're sitting for dinner. Okay, one man is called A, the other's B. And here's their dialogue. A says hi, B says hello. A says, sorry, I'm late. B says, you're 40 minutes late. A says, yeah, I had a lot of work at the office. Then he says, sorry. Now, looking at this, there's many ways you can board it. It's just a simple setup where you have two men, one man's already sitting, perhaps, and the other kind of comes into the scene, and then he sits down to join his buddy, and they're having a talk. But now there's this kind of like small, not so much tension, but, one of them's late. He's trying to, he's sorry about it. Now, you also want to think about the subtext of how these are being said. I mean, what if A was really felt bad about being late? So you could do like this, hi, and B says, hello. Oh, I'm so sorry I'm late. Yeah, you're 40 minutes late. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a lot of work at the office. Sorry. Okay, that's one way. So knowing how they say it, you can kind of have a better way of how to showcase how they're going to be when they do this. Another way is, what if A is very sarcastic? So he's not really sorry that he's late. Maybe he goes like this, hi, hello. Yeah, sorry I'm late. Yeah, but you're 40 minutes late. Yeah, I know. I had a lot of work at the office, all right? Sorry. So that's quite a different way in how we can project these two people, or at least A. A is kind of a jerk. He's kind of, there's something there. There's some animus that he's projecting toward B. So first of all, you want to kind of figure out, you know, what the dialogue is, but how it's being said, and what exactly are these people are feeling. So let me give you 3 versions of what I did. Okay, here's version 1. So we have a flat shot, and version A is all a flat shot. I moved the camera a little bit on each version, but the first version is a flat shot. There's B sitting down. A comes in. Hi. Hello. Sorry, I'm late. You're 40 minutes late. Yeah, I had a lot of work at the office. Hold for a beat. Sorry. Okay, nothing wrong with the shot. It's just flat. The camera hasn't moved. The camera is still. You just have your characters in dialogue on a side view, and you know there's a little bit of performance. You know, B is saying you're late, but he's not really animated about it, and B just lowers his head. That's kind of like the beat to showcase like, oh, he feels bad and almost defeated and lowers his head. Okay, so that's the first version. The second version, we're gonna add a few more camera shots. So say we go, we open up like this on this shot, and A says, hi, hello, sorry I'm late. Yeah, you're 40 minutes late. Yeah, I had a lot of work at the office. Sorry. Okay, so the only difference between this version and the second is we had a few over the shoulders, and we just kind of went tight on this moment just to really showcase, that this guy is not too happy. And then we go back to him. And we just reused cutting back to A, same shot. Now he's just kind of changing his expressions and his poses as he does that. Okay. So again, nothing wrong with this shot either. There's no right or wrong. It's more like what works for you as far as emotionally. So this is version B. Now let's do our last version. Okay. So we have our third character come in. Hi, sorry I'm late. You're 40 minutes late. Yeah, I had a lot of work at the office. Sorry. Okay, so that was just a version. Let me get back to this. So it's almost similar to version 2. The only thing I did was when you cut back to B, I didn't want to show his face. So the thing is, there really wasn't a need to show the face. You can just know that he's there sitting, and just to show his kind of his anger or just kind of why he's a little pissed off, you just cut to the folding arms, and then he points to his clock, or to his watch, I'm sorry, and he's like, you're 40 minutes late, and then you just hold on the beat of him like that. It's almost the same thing as like when you're in trouble as a kid and you look at your mom doesn't say anything, just kind of gives you that stare, and then you just feel so bad about it. So that's kind of what I was trying to imply at this point. So yeah, so let me stop sharing that. So that is just a version of sharing the Other Lucy camera, just how you can storyboard in the most simplest terms when you're starting out. You don't have to be so crazy about camera moves or camera positions. Just keep things as simple as possible. Usually, most stories, not always, they go usually wide, and then they cut to a medium shot, and then they cut to close to the character. So you're establishing, you're kind of informing the character where you're at, when you're at, and so forth, and how far things are to each other. And then when you cut to the character, that's when the story begins. Some dialogue is being said. You kind of get an idea of the character, what they're feeling, what they're expressing in the moment. So that way you're informing and so forth. So yeah, so let me cut back to the chat here. Let's see, John Lucy, I'm 42 and I've seen Hi Lucy like 10 times over. LOL, great, yeah. Rimmel says, it's true, the sketches have that energy. How do you keep that movement going in a finished drawing? Any tips? I guess for the finished drawing, just keep it loose. It all depends on what you consider a finished drawing. If the finished drawing is still rough and the director or the studio, whoever you're delivering it to, if they like it, especially for storyboards, it could still be rough, but if it's clear, it's all about clarity. And clarity is just kind of this ambiguous thing, but it's to one's taste, and it's like, well, is it clear? Can you see what the characters are expressing, what they're doing? If that's clear in the most roughest form, job done. In my opinion. I don't think there's any need to clear it or clean it up. I know some people want to clean it up, again, when it's presenting to other executives, people who may not be very savvy as far as reading boards. You almost have to, go that extra step just for their sake so they can understand it. So let's see. Sma, haha, my favorite is still when Ricky is telling story of Low Red Right. Yeah, and mine too. Alejandro, wow, thank you. In the mind blown. The last one is so cool. So subtle yet so emotive. Does this last work better if we know who or have seen before? Perhaps. This is just an exercise, but yeah, perhaps early on there was an earlier sequence and say we know who B is. Yeah, it might establish, when we cut to that person, it would probably clarify it to the audience, like, yeah, we would understand why he would be so pissed. We wouldn't actually identify the face, we just see the body. So yeah, it might be helpful if we pen and you B before. Let's see. Thank you, super thank you, Eyes. Why? Any tips on self-learning storyboard? Well, I gave some exercises early on in my first session. So, little simple exercises on dialogue and so forth. What's the difference between a storyboard and sequence illustration? Well, a storyboard is real time. There's a lot more panels to really showcase something happening. So it's almost like storyboards now, you're almost like keyframing elements. So there's a lot more drawing per panel to really understand like something is progressing in action or emotion and so forth. Illustrations are more like beat boards, and that's what it sounds like. So you're just kind of identifying the major broad strokes of what's happening versus all the in-betweens. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that answers the question. Any tips to get cleaner boards? I tried using Sharpie and it works, but it doesn't translate well when I draw digitally with a thick brush. Yeah, I mean, Sharpies are only good to lay out something, but then, I always like rework the drawing on maybe another layer, and then I wouldn't get a Sharpie so much. Maybe I'd get a thinner brush. So now I can kind of go in there and start getting a little more details and so forth. But the Sharpie just kind of, it's almost like you're, it prevents you from noodling. So you're just working with big shapes, big statements, composition, and so forth. So that's why, I tell people work with the Sharpie, so that way you can get the compositions first without noodling on details. Once it works and it feels good, then you can noodle or start adding more detail to some extent. See, what's the difference between, okay, got that. At first, have you had trouble with clarity? I find quite hard to be objective. Yeah, again, it's all about who's looking at it, and they'll tell you if it's clear or not, if it's clear in their eyes. Again, you might work with directors who may not know storyboards. Maybe they, ideally you have directors who are storyboard artists, so they can read as a rough storyboard. You might have some directors who don't know how to do storyboards or haven't done storyboards, so they need that extra layer of information, that clarity, that you being a little more, take more time to add more details and stuff like that. It all depends. Different people have different ways of boarding. Some are very rough and loose, some are very tight and clean. There's no right or wrong way. It's all about what delivers to get the job done. Is it readable? Is it clear? Can you understand it? Can you feel it? That's what a storyboard does. So it's that kind of like ambiguous thing. It's like, well, if the person you're delivering to, that they're the ones who are going to probably tell you if it's clear for them. So will the PowerPoint you're using be available to us somewhere? I'm assuming this PowerPoint, well, it's in, in the YouTube that I have here. This I'll probably leave up here for like a week and then I'm going to tear it down. But this is just rough and dirty. So I'm just here kind of having fun with you guys and just kind of sharing stuff. But again, later on, I do want to plan on making a lot more higher end production videos where I can showcase this with maybe a little more information. So it's a lot more easier to digest and you can use it. So Helder, it's very interesting how you don't need to show B-space on the last one. Yeah, it's a choice. You don't necessarily have to. It's more of a feeling. You can feel B. You don't necessarily have to see B. Jack Davis or Mike Plough. I'm not sure what that refers to. But I love those two guys. Mike Plough's awesome. Kyla Southwood. Oh, maybe we're talking about the roughness. Probably, because they're both very good at rough rough drawing and just that energy of line. Kyla, where was a scene that was particularly difficult to board or particularly rewarding? What was well, they all have their challenges. I loved doing my sequences when I was working on Spider-Verse. That was awesome. I loved working on Kim Possible. Kim Possible, I learned a lot. It was old school. We were working on pencil and paper. So what happens is, we had the old school, we had this. We had, it was something like this. I'm just going to draw it really quick, old school, and show you. We would have storyboard template paper that was very much like this. And it was kind of on legal paper. And we had 3 panels, and underneath was areas to put in dialogue, screen direction, special effects if needed, and so forth. So that was old school. And then we would use Post-its to kind of, if we needed to do a change, so we wouldn't have to redraw it, we just tape it and glue it or whatever. So that was what we worked with. And I remember, we would generate for Kim Possible, we were generating, I think we had like 8 pages of script usually for 6 weeks. And I would have about close to 600 to 700 average pages, but there were 3 drawings on a page. So what was that? Almost 1,800 images that I drew. Some were reused, but yeah, we had that in 6 weeks. So there was a lot of paper, a lot of sketches we did. And that was back then. That was old school. It's a lot easier now because, you guys can reuse backgrounds and so forth. And, things register better when you're working digitally. But yeah, back then it was old school. And we had to work fast. So we had to work, for me, worked a lot looser, but as long as it's, as long as it's clear. But yeah, Kim Possible was a great experience. Let's see. Let's see. Will this be recorded? Yeah, well, it'll be recorded for about a week. Enjoy the Icon Manila talk. Thank you, Janelle. Talk to me about keeping fresh or staying sharp as a story artist. What are some things that you do to try to continue to learn and improve your craft? Just keep doing sequences, or maybe do sequences that are different as far as storytelling. Maybe on a general sense, if you're used to gaggy stuff, maybe try your hand at more maybe emotional stuff, maybe more subtle drama, maybe more action-oriented sequences and so forth. You're still boarding, but you have to also consider what the camera's doing, and if there's a lot of movement, you kind of consider screen direction, and then still consider the information you're doing with all this stuff moving elements and so forth. Change up the game, change up the characters, maybe consider a period piece and so forth. Maybe consider, what if you're doing a storyboard for Samurai Jack? Samurai Jack, awesome action, but it's almost based on anime, so they do split screen and so forth, and they have slight, subtle things sliding off and so forth. But that's based on old westerns and then anime. So kind of like, fill your head or get inspired by what that is, so you can draw from it and then do a storyboard based on that. I guess to answer your question, just do more sequences and then challenge yourself to different things, what that could be. So, you always want to keep your hand warm and just kind of challenge yourself, because who knows, there might be an opportunity where if they need a board in that style, that genre, at least you're up for it. You're not learning on the job. At least you've had your hand warm and kind of can, study that. Look at different types of how directors would work. Look at how they place camera, composition, their set of pacing and so forth. So yeah, so kind of just be inspired by that and then challenge yourself to new sequences as you work. So let's see. What is a good site for uploading portfolio that allows password protected preview? What is a good, there's quite a few. There's WordPress, CarbonMade, Wix. I know there's a few others. But yeah, as far as like a story portfolio, you want to make sure, well, ideally you want to use one that has, in my opinion, I always like things that are right-click, like a right-click viewer, like Blogger. Blogger's great because it's like a poor man's animatic, and it's a nice way to right-click through different images. I know some programs don't have that. You may have to get a plugin to kind of add that feature. But I have a Carbon Mate, but I mostly use Carbon Mate for my design work because I don't need a right-click viewer. For my storyboards, I would use Blogger. Blogger's free. I haven't used it in a while, but I like Blogger's simplicity and just the right-click feature. So it's hard to describe one because I don't, to be quite honest, I'm not too savvy about what's a good for right-click. Maybe others in the chat room can suggest, but yeah, definitely look around, see what works for you. Let's see. So everyone's having nice things to say. Thank you. Thank you for answering. Thank you. Will you be doing storyboard classes at the Animation Collaborative? Wasn't planning on it because actually there's already great classes there. Derek Thompson is having a class there, as is, gosh, there's several others. I'm just blanking out. I'm so tired. I only have 3 hours sleep, so I'm just trying to remember names. But there's others. I know there. I'm just blanking out. But yeah, the Collaborative has some great classes, and right now they're on an online format because of the pandemic. So definitely look into the Collaborative and check out their classes. I know there's some great classes that are being given through Schoolism. So definitely check that out as well. But for me personally, for me teaching a class. The only classes I'm teaching right now is I'm teaching an intro to visual design at the Collaborative, and I am working on classes for Schoolism, but not in the immediate future. I mean, it's probably won't be till next year, but I'm hoping to get that soon. So I feel like I'm cheating on my class right now, taking storyboards with Brian Murray. Thanks for all the great info. You're welcome. How clean does your sports need to be for the Spider-Verse? They don't have to be super tight. They have to be just clear. Let me see if I can bring one of those up for you. I'm gonna share screen. Share screen. Boom. This. And bear with me. Let's see. Spider, where are you? Spider-Man. Let's see. To Sony. Not sure what sequences there are. See, is it this? Okay, well, let's see, let me open up this one. I haven't seen this in a while, so let's see them together. I'll open up a preview. Came on this side. Let me make this smaller so we can view it. And then let's go view, enter full screen. Okay, so this could be this is one of my sequences that I did for Spider-Man, and it's since changed. And I think this was deleted, but this was the one thing I worked on. So I'll just pitch it as I go. It's rough and dirty, but yeah, see if you like it. So anyway, we cut in on an angle of a bus. It's just parked into a curb. Doors open. We see a young Miles who has his Spidey hood on. He walks out. He's injured, so he's kind of limping. He's like, oh. And he gets close to the camera and still limping. Oh. And so the camera just pans with him, and you reveal that he's in the center of Times Square. So he looks up, and we have everybody looking up. They're all frozen, and the camera pans up, and we see the top. And actually, this was a panel. There was something that was taken. There was something on the top, but the director wanted to cut right before we see the top. So we cut, and then we cut back to Miles, and then he's reflecting, and then we have we go back in time, like a memory, and then we see that he is at the cemetery. So there he is. He's walking across the cemetery, walking across tombstones. It's snowing, cross dissolve, close up. He's just walking, so forth. You see him. He's getting to a tombstone toward the back of the gate. He approaches it. He stands there. He looks. Train goes by. Shadows form over. There he is, just contemplating, just looking. We're not sure the name of the template yet, but there he is. You pan up. He has a serious look, and then you flash back, and then you flash back of Spider-Man falling into a void. You see terrified eyes. And then you cut to the top, and then you intercut to him, to this gravesite, and intercut, and then reveal that the grave is Peter Parker's. and he just died. And then you see Miles, he takes off the mask. And then there's just someone going on, coming from behind him. He turns, figure, we don't know who it is. He looks terrified, shadow grows. That was it. So that was one early version, quick and dirty. This was just really quick and dirty and done really fast. It was done like in a day. But we were just kind of really quickly just trying to pace out something. So let me stop. You see there's another sequence here. Let's see, can you guys see me? I'm not sure if you guys can see me. Okay, yeah, I can see me. So let me share another screen. I'm going to, maybe there's another sequence I can share with you guys. Okay, well, there's just that. Let's see, 125. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to look for another sequence I can show you guys. Let's see, open with. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I opened everything in Photoshop. Not what I wanted. Let's see. Let me close this up. Let me go back to this viewer. Let me select all this. And let's do open in preview. Okay, so here we go. So now it's on this screen. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to make the screen smaller so you guys can see. And then I'm going to do file, I'm sorry, edit, review, enter full screen. So this is just another version, another sequence, really rough and dirty. Let's see. So I'm going to share screen, what that is. Okay, so here we go. So this is the exterior of Miles' house. So we're going to, I'm sorry, let me move the thing here. So close up on the window, windows opens up, you know, he crawls in, we go wider, he crawls through, camera goes around, you see the shadow on the wall, freeze! And then he says, Dad, it's me. And then you see his dad, he's like, Miles? Dad, you scared me, boy. What are you doing here? And he says, I had a bad dream. I came home. Is it okay if I sleep here? Sure, but you could have gone through the front door. Yeah, I know, but I didn't want to wake you and Mom up. Hey. Then his hand goes up to his face. What's this? And you see like a scar on his face. And Miles like, tries to play it off. Miles, is there something you need to tell me? And you come back to Miles, and he doesn't know what to say. So he looks down, and then he goes and hugs his dad. And the dad's like, huh? And see a moment for a beat, they're holding. And then Dad puts his arm around him. And then we have on, as he's holding the intercom that's on Dad's chest, it says, John Doe, found in front of the Daily Bugle, possible superhuman involvement. And then Miles says, no, Dad, nothing at all. So you pan out. So Dad says, I was a kid once. Be careful. So he starts to walk off and he says in the intercom, Roger, I'm on my way. So he leaves. So he leaves the room. There's Miles by himself. And he's just there looking at his dad, head down. So he sits down on the bed. Actually, you know what? There's a moment where, this is out of sequence, but he actually walks over to the dresser and then he picks up a photo of his dad and himself during Halloween. He's dressed as Spider-Man. So he's looking and he reflects on it. Now this is out of sequence. I'm sorry, I apologize. This is out of sequence. So he's on the bed, he looks up, he walks toward the bed, the table. He sees these pictures. Then you pan over to the picture of his dad and himself. Then he reaches, brings it in. He looks at it, looks down on it, smiles. And then his smile disappears. And he feels bad because all this time he was very honest and open with his dad. So he feels bad that he didn't tell the dad his dad the truth. And as you're doing this, you cross dissolve to a crowd. So you see different parts of the city And then you see over the intercom, this is breaking news. We are hearing reports that a man wearing the mask of Spider-Man was found dead in front of the Daily Bugle. Then he crosses off to other parts of the city. We can confirm the man's name is Peter Parker, a 27-year-old grad student. Then he crosses off to other parts. And multiple sources are confirming that this was indeed Spider-Man leaving an irreplaceable void in our beleaguered city. Then this is on Times Square when you have the ticker tape news scroll going over that criminals will surely fill the void. And you cut back to Miles back in the room. He's still reflecting on the photo, and that's it. So anyway, this is just another quick and rough and dirty version. So let me stop sharing that. So yeah, that was just an example. These are my boards. These are just really early versions, and they're just really quick and dirty and crude. I didn't show the layer passes, but I would kind of refine them. We would kind of edit out and just clean up a bit and so forth. But that's, these were very rough and dirty, but that's, if you can kind of get it, that's what it takes. So let's see, let me go back to the comments. Cool, love the Miles stuff. Hey, Ian, thanks. I got there too late, but from what I saw, he was talking about shot choice. Yeah, I was. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, Ortiz. Do you need to learn animation principles for storyboarding? Not necessarily. I mean, it helps, but not necessarily. I mean, when I started boarding, I really didn't know any. It wasn't so much animation principles. I mean, that probably would have helped. Squash and stretch and so forth, timing and arcs. That would have helped. Yeah, but when you're boarding, it seems like I mentioned, like when you're boarding now. A lot of boarding and animatics, they almost seem like they're keyframing, so that way things are more fluid. They look more like what you see at the end of a film. So in that regard, yeah, I think I don't want to say it's a requirement. It shouldn't be, because storyboarding is focused on performance and camera moves and what's happening. But I get it. Some people want to add all that extra panels to really get a fluid movement. So to answer your question, it helps. I don't think it's a requirement, but it does help. So can someone tell you how to board like an editor? Can someone tell you how to board like an editor? I don't know what that means as far as if someone can tell you. When you're storyboarding, you're already kind of self-editing kind of what you want to see. You're kind of like timing the information. Like, oh, I want to cut on a close-up, and then I cut on wide to establish new information. Then I go back to the close-up. So you're kind of self-editing already what you're seeing. You know what I may do is I kind of showcased on my first presentation a video you should see. I'm going to bring that up. It's like 8 minutes long, but it's really good. It's told it's why nature documentaries are fake, and it talks about editing. But basically, it's not talking about editing. It's talking about, as a storyboard artist, images and how to get storytelling out of it. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll bring that up to you guys. And by the way, it's we're probably got 10 more minutes and then I'll close up shop. But let me go ahead and do this. And let me close that up. And then I will find out where that is. I'm going to put in nature. Y. Okay, it's over here. And then I'm going to fill screen. Okay, so I am going to play this short documentary. It's like 8 minutes long. It's really great. It tells you the power of editing, but also it's the power of storytelling and using images to really convey an emotion. You're kind of manipulating the images to get an emotion and a response for the audience. So I'm just going to play it. I'm going to put it on loud so you guys can hear it. So here it goes.
A little while back, I was watching a nature documentary and I couldn't help but notice that most of the sound effects seemed to be fake, like they were added later. How do we know? Well, it's really difficult to record sound when you are far away from someone. The cameras can zoom in, but the microphones can't. So take this example, filmed a good distance away and also from a helicopter. And yet in the show, we can hear the light footsteps through the grass. Now this is probably what it really sounded like. And so it's hardly surprising when we see articles confirming that lots of the sounds in nature documentaries are actually recorded in a studio. Apparently it's common practice, even as far as the classic Foley tricks like swishing bamboo. Now, I personally have no problem with this. You can hardly expect them to put a mic on a giraffe or stand really close to polar bears. And sound is crucial for a rich and immersive audience experience. So they just use artistic license with the audio. But even so, this has made me look a bit closer at these nature shows, and it turns out that fake sound effects are only the tip of the iceberg. Let's look at this from the perspective of a filmmaker. Imagine that we've been tasked with filming a kangaroo fight. We're out there for a few weeks, so we're going to spend plenty of time waiting for that golden moment. In the meantime, we might record this shot of a joey going into its mother's pouch, most likely because it wanted some milk. And then, since we're waiting, might as well get some close-ups. Very nice. And when the fight finally breaks out, we film that too. Now, watch what happens in editing. This is how it looked in the final show. We see one fighter, we're told he's the alpha, and that this guy is challenging him. That's when the editor shows us the close-ups, and now they have a deeper meaning. It's almost like the two roos are weighing each other up in a classic Western stare-down. After the glaring, we see the shot of the joey, and this time it's as if this kid knows what's about to happen and is actually hiding in the patch. Only then does the fight begin. The point is, these editors have hours of footage for a scene like this, filmed over many days, usually weeks, and then they just choose a few moments that provide the maximum emotional impact. This shot might have been filmed a week earlier than the fight, but the editor sees it as an opportunity to humanize the animals, much like Pixar films have been doing for years. So they are manipulating the footage, but I'm not complaining. If these shows were just a string of facts about animals, most of us wouldn't watch. That's why they carve out stories in editing, why they use intense music, and why they recreate the sound effects. Because storytelling is what engages us, not facts and figures. And so what some people could see as fakery becomes something we can actually learn from. For example, one of the classic challenges in filmmaking is getting the audience to care about the characters. And while regular filmmakers can control everything that happens in front of the camera, wildlife filmmakers have to do their work without interfering with nature. So how do they get us to empathize with these characters that can't even speak? Let's take a look at this sequence. We meet this family of caribou reindeer, and the filmmakers give us some time to get to know them a bit. We see the calves struggle to find their footing, which is undeniably endearing. Cute little fluffy animals are very easy to care about. That's why we see them so often in these shows. Once they've joined with the rest of the herd, the lavish orchestral theme music suddenly stops, and it's replaced by a low droning note that puts us on edge. It says, danger is ahead. So this Arctic wolf is probably the villain of this scene. Now, it might be looking for food for its cute pups back at the den, and this is its only chance of survival. But if so, the filmmakers don't show us that. They keep it much more anonymous, much like how villains often have their face covered, especially in Star Wars. Now, one way to raise the stakes in a story is to show how ruthless the villain is. And here we see the wolf chasing the herd, trying to weed out the weak and vulnerable. So watching this, we can't help but feel for little Bambi here, who's definitely the underdog, being targeted by a wolf who should really pick on someone their own size. And as the wolf closes in, let's cut this here. Now, have a think about these two questions. Would you rather that the wolf went hungry and Bambi survived, or do you want the wolf to get a meal? And secondly, would you be annoyed if I didn't show the ending of this scene? Because to me, that second question is a good litmus test for storytelling. If the audience isn't eager to find out how it ends, then it probably wasn't a story. Certainly not a good one. So while it is kind of disappointing to find out that nature docs have been manipulated in a few ways, we have to ask whether we really want 100% reality. Because wouldn't that just be a 24-hour live stream of nature, uncut, no music, just what's really happening? I couldn't watch that for very long. Of course, on the other extreme is the nature documentaries that have really misled the audience, like using computer-generated images without telling anyone, interfering with animal hunts to get better footage, or villainizing sharks as human killers. And so really, I think these BBC shows are pretty well balanced between accuracy and entertainment. There's enough enhancements in storytelling that we can enjoy the show, while still appreciating the complexity of nature. Oh, and by the way, in the wolf chase scene, Bambi managed to escape. I'm Simon Cade. This has been DSLR Guide, and I'll see you next week.
So cool. And this is a nice documentary that I like to show. This kind of showcases the significance of editing, but also as a storyboard artist, just your selection of shots and progressing the story to trying to get an emotional reaction or response to the audience. So let me close that up. Another short film I'll show you is, let's see if I can find it, Hitchcock. It's called The Kuleshov. I have it. Eyes of Hitchcock? No. Where is it? Hitchcock? Is this it? Not the birds. Well, you know what? This is what I'll do. I will load it up on YouTube. Hitchcock. There it is. Okay. Another example is the Kuleshov.
Now,
Okay, so let me make this bigger. Now the Kuleshov effect, let's see, I'm trying to recall, I'm gonna probably mess this up, but Kuleshov was he was a scientist. I believe he was a, he was studying psychology or sociology, and he was trying to figure out like responses as far as like giving certain images, how a public would respond to. So he put in he had 3 pictures. The first and the third were the same, and in the second, he would change out the second, the subject matter. So anyway, I'm just gonna let Hitchcock explain it to you. So let me backtrack, and here we go.
Now, the third way is what one might call pure cinematics, the assembly of film, and how it can be changed to create a different idea. Now we have a close-up. Let me show what he sees. Let's assume he saw a woman holding a baby in her arms. Now we cut back to his reaction to what he sees. And he smiles. Now what is he as a character? He's a kindly man. He's sympathetic. Now, let's take the middle piece of film away, the woman with the child, but leave his 2 pieces of film as they were. Now we'll put in a piece of film of a girl in a bikini. He looks, girl in a bikini, he smiles. What is he now? The dirty old man. He's no longer the benign gentleman who loves babies. That's the difference. That's what film can do for you.
Or you for it, as it were.
So yeah, that's just a nice little example of the Kuleshov effect, where again, you use a first image and then you repeat it.
You're
I'm
more
sorry,
interested
turn
in
this
the
off.
technique of storytelling, but
So basically how you can kind of, you know, you have your first image and then you repeat the first image on the third, and then you interchange the second. So the first image is responding to what he sees in the second, and then the third is his reaction to what he sees. And you can interchange that to kind of give it effect. It could be dessert, dead body, you know, nasty picture, bank robbery, something like that. And the third image will kind of give context as kind of what you're seeing. So it's that juxtaposition of images to kind of create an emotion. So that's just kind of like basic film, and that's the basic foundation of what editing is, movie editing, and so forth. So anyway, I want to go back to the chat here and see if you guys have any questions. I have about maybe 10 more minutes, and then I'm gonna shut down. But if you guys have any questions, just shoot them my way. Let's see, who made that video? I'm assuming the nature video. I think it was the BBC. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was the BBC that did that. Let's see, that's logic circuit, sequential evaluation of truth statements. His base, I forgot what he was talking about. It's a good example. Where is it? Okay. not sure if you guys what are referring to, but yeah, I think if you guys are talking about the nature video, it's a BBC. If you go on YouTube or if you go on any kind of search engine, just put in BBC, why are nature documentaries fake? That's how I found it. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Navarez, do you ever, you can call me John. You can call me Mr. Navarez. Call me John. Do you ever stay too loose too long that you don't know how to draw tight? Yeah, you know, I'll be the first to admit I suck at drawing tight stuff because I notice when I try and go too tight, I start making shit up. So it's almost like life drawing. You know, in life drawing, you know, I always like the short segments. I like 30-second poses, 1-minute poses. I really can't do anything beyond 5 minutes because I think all my attention and all my energy is focused on the short frame. So I'm just kind of get everything down and I try and tighten things in within the first 3 or 4 minutes. Anything beyond that, it's almost like I'm just standing there waiting, and all of a sudden I feel like I have to force something on there, and then I start making shit up. And all of a sudden, I don't know if I'm adding to the drawing. I feel like I'm taking away from the drawing. And, you know, just that example, you know, if you apply it to like storyboards or whatever, same thing. I feel like I'm taking away. So, you know, there are moments where I'm doing like a background design where I have to get tight. Yeah, for me, that's a little different, you know, drawing buildings versus drawing people. I think I have a shorter attention span when it comes to people. For buildings, you know, I can spend more time fleshing out the details and so forth. But yeah, yeah, just to answer your question, yeah, I can have a hard time. So I'm getting my wish then, Josh. Not sure what that is. It's awful searching BBC. Let's hope he keeps going. Thank you from Tiff. You're welcome. Alvide says, how do you draw so loose and quick while still keeping it clean and readable? I just practice, you know, just base your drawings on shapes. Shapes are very forgiving, and in animation, shapes work because everything, it's all about movement. So you want to make sure shapes read as they move across and so forth. Keep the construction of your drawings. That really helps kind of lay down their foundation and their movement. Yeah, so I mean, I would say keep doing that. The more you do it, the more confident you are. You can ghost in the characters and then commit to a fine line over the ghost of your first drawing or your underdrawing. So it just takes time and practice, and you know, the more you do it, you'll see the boldness and confidence in the line. And then your loose sketches will still stay loose, but they'll have a more bold effect and so forth. Let's see. Let's see. I totally get that with the short gesture poses, books to recommend. Yeah, and I don't have any books at the moment, but if I do, I'll do them. Yeah, Frame Perspective is a good one. Yes. Thank you so much for answering this. From Kenny, you're welcome. Kenny. Kyla, how closely do you collaborate with the director and other story artists? How do you think it helps push the film? Yeah, I mean, there's moments where you do collaborate and moments where you don't. For feature, there's a lot of opportunities where you do collaborate. If we work on a sequence, and then another artist will probably take a chunk or pass at that sequence and so forth. So you kind of share the sequence. For TV, from my experience, it's a very run and gun. It's a very shorter schedule. So a lot of times, you know, you're kind of on this lone wolf thing. You're kind of, you know, from beginning to end, it's yours. So, you know, you own it more, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, sometimes in features as well, you'll solely own a sequence, but there's many times where you will be sharing, and then there's a lot of collaboration with the director. You know, the director will tell you, and this goes for TV too, they'll tell you what they want out of the sequence, you know, and you know, they'll give you that liberty, that opportunity to plus it, and you're keeping the essence of what they want. You know, pretty much a director will tell you, this is what I want to feel, this is the information that needs to come across. So it's your job to like try and hit that target. But you don't have to be so tight to a script. I know some directors, they do want you to stay strong and tight to a script. But others, they might say like, if, you know, you don't necessarily have to keep tight to the script. If you can keep the essence of the script and the essence of the scene and still plus it and make it better, I mean, some directors will be willing to go for it. And I think that's true boarding. It's like you want to contribute something that makes it stronger. We're all trying to find ways to make the story as strong as possible. So you want to pick your battles, and you want to just, take advantage of that if you can. If you can find a better, stronger way to tell the same story, go for it. Because that's, in essence, that's your job. So let's see. To showcase your storyboard portfolio, would it be nice to record them in video so that the recruiter sees them? I see people have done that. They create their own animatic. You can if you want, but you definitely go old school. You can just put them on. I told this to folks earlier. You can have them like on a right-click viewer feature on a blog, and then when you go show your recruiter, if you're in person and showing the recruiter, you can open up the link and you can go through that. If I always tell people, it's like as a backup, because sometimes Wi-Fi sucks depending on where you're at. Maybe you have in a folder all your images, and then you have open up in preview, so that way you don't have to rely on Wi-Fi and everything else. If it sucks, you can just open up in preview and right click as they go. But if you're kind of showing things on remotely, like you're emailing a link to a recruiter, you can have them on a viewer. You can definitely have them on an animatic if you want, but it's not required, because that's just an extra step. If you feel confident in your editing skills, go for it, but it's not required. Let's see. Do you ever feel like you don't get enough done with your time? If so, how do you deal with it? Yes, I never feel I have enough time. I never have enough time. So I just kind of do the best I can every day and just kind of go for it. We're all busy. We all have our lives, and we all have commitments on the job and personal stuff like family and kids. And that's all great. That's all good. And as far as time as our own personal stuff, it's just, you just try and find the time. So if you just are lucky enough to have 15 minutes in the day, use those 15 minutes as best you can. And then, try and shoot for more the next day. So don't worry about it. You just work with what you can. As long as you keep the fire burning and just kind of keep going, that's all you can do. Let's see. Do directors have some tolerance when you're a bit shy during pitching, or is it better to be very extroverted? You don't have to be an extrovert. You just have to be, when you're pitching, you do have to go up and pitch your board. So there is a time where you really have to sell it. And if selling means that you really have to, be a little more animated and more vocal and more verbose in the screen direction and so forth. You don't have to be an extrovert. There's some people who don't mind talking, and so it's more comfortable for them to pitch. But, I know people can be shy. I would say, practice what you're doing. Be confident. The thing is, it's like once you storyboard something, you have it. But then take some time to try and, be comfortable pitching. You don't want to like pitch it the first time and not rehearse it. Be confident. Be aware of how you're pitching and the timing and the pacing and your cues. Maybe find out moments where you want to add a beat or a pause. And so forth. Maybe, you don't have to be overly verbose. You're just there to help, push the story. And you want the story to tell itself, but you're there to help guide it. So it's a matter of rehearsing and so forth. You don't have to be an extrovert. I know some people are shy, but you should be confident enough to you're selling your piece. This is the piece you worked hard on. So you're trying to convey, that information, that emotional response to your director. And so forth. And your director gets it, but he's waiting for you to just go for it. So there's going to be moments. That's what storyboard is. Not only is it like the drawing and all this stuff and love you give to it, you have to pitch it. So, that can be an art form that you have to work on, but that's okay. That just comes with the job. So just practice and just kind of learn how to go for it. There is, while I have you online, I'm going to just share this with you, a good link. So share it. I'm going to go on YouTube, and that way you guys can have the link. I'm going to see if I can do Mater, Scott Morse, Rob Gill. Let me see if I can find it. There was a good link up here on time. True. Mater. I'm sorry, Scott Morris, Cars 2. I'm fishing for what that title could be. Is it here? Cars 2 Mater. Okay, I'm gonna do animatic. If I put it in animatic, I might have some luck. Mater's funny moments. No. Scott Morris, Mater. Rob Gibbs. Interview with Rob Gibbs. To stunt manager. There's a few really cool Cars 2 animatics that are up here. Let me type in Rob Gibbs. Cars 2 animatics. See if I have any luck with there. I'm sorry, if this doesn't work, then maybe I could just kind of in the discussion I could put the link once I find it. But where is it? Time travel meter. Is this it? No, that's the video. I'm looking for the animatic. Stunt meter, that's not it. Time travel meter, maybe it's time travel meter. Let's see. Time travel meter. Time travel meter. Ah, there it is. Okay, sorry.
In the story process.
Okay, so if you put in Cars Tunes, Mater's Tall Tales, Unmade Tales, this was a segment that they did as far as like an extra special feature in the DVD for the Cars Tunes, and this is great. This is Rob Gibbs, who he was a great story artist, really great guy. I worked with him briefly. But he was just really beloved and really awesome. Unfortunately, he passed away not too long ago. That's him. But here he is. He's telling you about these 3 sequences that are pitched by the story artist. So if you fast forward, you kind of get to see each artist. I'm sorry, I'm just going to do this. This is Bobby Rubio, awesome story artist. Here he is. He's pitching this show. So he tells you, I'm going to just briefly play it so you see it.
About the time I was a fashion runway model. What? Yeah, I was at Flo's minding my own business. In comes this French pity car with the blue beret. Oh my, oh, that face. Yes, yes, that profile. Tell me, would you like to be an internationally famous model? Sure, why not? First, I started modeling tires. Then I hit the runway circuit. And from there, I went to Japan, promoting all kinds of products. My face was everywhere. I even got my own commercial. Spark up a lung. Spark up a lung. La 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 la. Konnichiwa. Yup, I was big in Japan. Well, what happened? Shoot, new model came along, but I still model from time to time.
So anyway, yeah, there's these great sequences. So you see the storyboard artist, what he's doing, he's pitching his artwork as you see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward to Scott Morris's stuff, and that way you have a sample of what he does. But as you know, as you hear Scott pitch, look at how he pitches, the information he gives, the pacing, and so forth. Yeah, so maybe as far as like looking for how to pitch, maybe look at this for inspiration. I'll just play it right now. His pitch is like 6 minutes long, but here we go.
Hi, my name's Scott Morse, and this is Backwards to the Forwards, an early Cars Tunes pitch that we did a first pass of, and it became the last pass of it as well, but it's kind of a fun one. We open up on a clock tower, kind of a classic clock tower, and Mater and McQueen are watching, and McQueen kind of looks over, and we see the clock strike 1 minute, and Mater freaks out. Ah! What's got into you? Well, you know, time traveling really freaks me out. McQueen's all, Mater, just because the clock moves doesn't mean we're time traveling. Mater says, shh. shoot, I know more about time traveling than you. I used to be a genuine time machine. McQueen kind of looks at him and goes, oh, I've got to hear this one. Mater's, oh, you sure do. It all started when I was driving in this thunderstorm. And crossed us off to a stormy night. Mater comes rolling up the road and gets zapped by lightning. Sheriff is over behind his speed trap and he kind of sees Mater getting zapped. He's like, Mater, are you okay, son? You shouldn't be driving out in this storm. And Mater says, I think I'm okay. I better do me a diagnostic check to be sure. Side view mirrors, check. Headlight, because he only has the one. Check. Toe thingy, clink, clink, check. Exhaust, check. Sheriff says, you think you can drive? Mater says, I don't know. Let's see. Forwards, check. Backwards, and he just kind of takes off. And he kind of goes into this weird time portal, leaving a flaming trail, and we see him going back through time. And he kind of reappears in what looks like Radiator Springs. There's flows, and he's kind of looking around. He sees Sheriff, and he drives over to Sheriff. He's like, Sheriff, what in tarnation just happened? Sheriff kind of looks at him. Oh, I don't know, but you look like a wreck. Take a bath, you hobo. Mater's kind of confused. He wheels over, and we notice in the background it says Lou's House of Tires, not Luigi's. Something ain't right. We see another blue truck roll up that looks just like Mater, a vintage Mater. And this Mater says, well, hey there. And our Mater says, well, hey there, you're set. What? And he kind of freaks out. He's like, you look like you rolled out of the factory in 1955. And the blue Mater says, that's funny. I did just roll right out of the factory. And it is 1955. You crazy old truck. And Mater freaks out. Ah! He realizes he's talking to himself. And when he goes backwards, he goes back through the time portal again. Since being zapped by that lightning, he goes back through time and ends up in the kind of stalls to a stop past him. There's a couple of old cars, an old Model T and an old Model T truck that are sitting next to this bubbling brook. And Mater says, hey, old timers, where are we? I think I'm lost. And the Model T turns around. We see that it's Lizzie. And she says, who you calling old timers? And Stanley looks up and he's all, now, Lizzie, let's not give this dandy the business. We're just filling up our radiators here at this old spring. Did you just say Radiator Springs? And Stanley says, you know, I didn't. But that sure do have a nice time to her. Radiator Springs, established 1925. And Lizzie says, oh, Stanley. Mater freaks out. 1925? But that means I'm time traveling. Ah! And he goes into reverse and pops up in what looks like ancient Rome this time. There's a bunch of chariots that are growling at each other, having a chariot battle. And Mater just busts right through them. Gladiators kind of fall and they look at him and they're all, ah, ah. You know, very primal, and Mater's freaking out, and they chase after Mater. Mater doesn't know what he's gotten himself into, and because he's driving backwards, he's asked back through time again. Appears back in a really primordial era, and then kind of stops and looks around. This is kind of a misty, tropical jungle, and he's never seen flowers this colorful and beautiful before. And you get to see them here in glorious black and white, but trust me, they're colorful and beautiful. And Mater looks around and he says, well, this is kind of pretty. He's a little bit more at ease and he rolls up to a big oil pit. He's all, look at them oil puddles. Doesn't realize it's a tar pit. And we hear some rumbling in the jungle, and a wheel rolls into frame, and another wheel, and they're made out of stone. And they're all kind of looking at Mater. They don't know what to do with Mater. It's all, hey, they're kind of funny. Kind of tries talking back to him. And behind Mater, out of the tar pit, comes an actual dinosaur, because Dinoco had to have been named after something. And Mater kind of freaks out again, and the wheels run, and another dinosaur grabs Mater, and it's a big T-Rex, and it throws him up into the air. And Mater's all, because he was flying backwards through the air, he zaps through the time portal. He's still in the air, but he's flying past these shapes, and he realizes they're flying cars. So now he hasn't gone back into the future. He's gone forwards into the future. Mater's flying, and one of them flies up and it's got buck teeth, and it's a flying tow truck, and Mater kind of looks, and there's this crazy city from the future, and the flying tow truck has caught Mater. And we crossed us off back to McQueen, who's still listening to this crazy story Mater's telling. He's all, Mater, there's no way you traveled through time. Ah, shoot, you remember, you was there too. What? We see the time portal kind of appear behind McQueen, and Mater pops in. And there's two Maters looking at McQueen. He freaks out when he sees the other Mater. Ah! And McQueen's all, wow, there's two Maters. And the other Mater flies up into the air, and we see his wheels kind of retract underneath. We see that one can control time. It freaks McQueen out. Mater kind of looks up at the clock, and it ticks again, and Mater freaks out, and freaks backwards, and we iris out. So again, this was an early pitch. It was a first pass that was done in maybe the course of, I don't know, 3 or 4 days to get ready for a pitch, and I'm not even sure that it ever even really got pitched, but it has been now, and you got to see backwards to the forwards. Thanks.
So anyway, that was just a great pitch by both Bobby and by Scott on their animatics, not the animatics, but on their storyboard passes that they did for Mater's shorts. So let me go ahead and stop sharing, because I'm going to wrap this up right now. So anyway, yeah, that's it. So I'll just answer like 2 more questions and I think that's it. So I'm gonna catch up with you guys and see what you guys have planned. Yeah, Scott Morse did this in 3 or 4 days. Yeah, he's good. And so, when you're a veteran artist like veteran boarder like Scott or Bobby, yeah, these guys are fast and they have they have skills to bring it in and do it quickly. So yeah. So here we go. Questions. Question: how do you make drawing feel more cinematic? I don't know. And maybe more loose. As far as cinematic, maybe adding so it's not so flat. Maybe there's a sense of foreground, midground, background, sense of lighting. Staging, maybe over the shoulders, and so forth. So it all depends on the show. Some shows they like that flat staging, like King of the Hill, The Simpsons, The Cleveland Show, stuff like that. Those are more like talkie shows. Those are like talking head shows. So those are like I call writer shows. It's more the show is more focused on the writing and the witty writing and dialogue, and not so much the composition and the camera work. Say something like Kim Possible or say Gravity Falls, where it's a little bit of both, but then when they have action shots, the camera becomes unfrozen and it moves with the action. So it all depends on the type of show and also what the scene calls for. So Ray, hey Ray, question for the portfolio: if you want to get a storyboard artist position, should I only put storyboard works in a portfolio website? Not necessarily. I always you can do like the 80-20, 90-10, where 80% versus 20%. 80% is for the position, the board, and then 20% is supplemental. Or you could do 90% the board, 10% supplemental. You don't necessarily have to put in strictly just board work. If there's something else that showcases more what you can do, yeah, definitely put it. But you want to make sure that the storyboard is way more for what the gig is requiring, which is storyboards. So yeah, so 80-10, 90, 80-20 and 90-10. So let's see. Balancing cinema shots with narrative shots. Yeah, definitely. What do you like to draw for fun off the clock? I have my cat character, just anything really. I kind of just rip and I just kind of like see where it goes. I did it earlier in this presentation, like the superheroes, and I kind of ended up kind of like a Spider-Verse, and I added stuff. Sometimes I like to do that because I don't know where it goes. So something that's fun to do. I call it telephone drawing. Ever been on the telephone and you're sketching and you're so involved in the dialogue, you don't really care what you're drawing. You're just letting it free flow. There's some really good stuff about that, because it's like sometimes when you're not thinking about something and you just let things happen, you can find some really creative accidents that might be useful. So, I like that stream of consciousness going on. So yeah, so I guess that's it, guys. It's 7 o'clock. It's a little after 7 o'clock here in Northern California. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Just to also let you know that I'm gonna do one more live demo, something like this. I'm gonna try and do a little differently. I'm gonna do it later on tonight, probably about 12:30 a.m. past midnight here on the Pacific Coast. So it's gonna be more like 9 a.m., 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in Europe. So I'm doing it for my friends. I have a lot of friends on the other side of the world, so I'm doing it for them. So I'll just be doing new stuff. So you guys can, if it's too late, I'll probably have this up again so you can see it later. But in any event, I'm having this one and the one, like I said, later on tonight. I'll have these up for like a week, and then I'll just take them off. But then the other ones will have a little bit longer. I did say like 3 months, but I might have them shorter. I might have them up for just a month. The reason is I think I'm gonna upload newer stuff that has a little more production design and so forth. But with that, I just want to thank you guys for checking me out, and I hope you guys are enjoying your time at Lightbox. I hope you guys are being inspired, and I hope you guys are learning things, and you guys are excited. So with that, go and draw. Go be creative, and just kind of carry this momentum forward. Don't ever stop. Just keep going forward and just keep letting that fire work and work for you. So with that, I'm gonna close up shop. I send you guys all love, and yeah, just wish you guys all the best. So have a good night. So now on Zoom, I'm gonna do my first end, and now I'm gonna